Food shortages, protests, witnessing suicide, and even being forced out of your own home. One American singer told us about what she experienced while under lockdown in Shanghai and how she escaped. NTD's Juliet Song has more on that.
Over a month after fleeing Shanghai under lockdown, singer Murphy says she still has nightmares about it.
That was one of the most difficult experiences of my entire life. It was just like it happened so fast, like the switch of a button.
A singing contract took Murphy to China in 2007. Since then, she's kept China as her base while taking up gigs in other countries. This March, officials in Shanghai put most of the city's 26 million residents under lockdown, including Murphy.
I came home from work to find my building surrounded by people in hazmat suits and the police, and my building was roped off. And so they informed me that, well, if you go in, you can't come back out. There's positive cases.
She was not allowed to leave her apartment building from that point on.
I'm in the lobby.
In the beginning, we could take our trash down to the lobby, and that was it.
Murphy and other residents also had to get tested for the virus every day.
And it's very terrifying every time we take the test because if you're positive, you will be taken to a centralized quarantine facilities, and conditions are not good there. So every day is a prayer that I come up negative again.
One of her neighbors refused to get tested.
They put a chain on his door, and he was just a few doors down from me. So that was just horrifying.
She says the situation kept getting worse.
We were getting so many cases. My neighbors next door to me, across from me, and next to them and across from them, they all had quarantine. If you had close contacts, they would put a quarantine, stick a quarantine sign on your door, and you were not allowed to come out.
She said the situation later grew more dire.
We had difficulties getting food.
And residents that tested positive were taken to centralized quarantine facilities.
And they were posted in the groups, this is where they have us. And so people were upset.
Even though people were not allowed to protest, Murphy says at a certain time at night.
So people would start banging pots and yelling as a means of protesting.
But one night, she heard a different kind of yelling.
I distinctively heard a man's voice, and he was just crying and screaming in this kind of terror that just sent chills up my spine. So I ran to the window, and I'm trying to look out, and I hear women joining in, and they're all screaming, and they're all sounding so terrified. I'm like, oh my God, do you think, what is it, a fire? Because I don't understand the language, and I know that this is a desperate cry out.
She then checked her community's social media group chat. There, residents communicated with each other while under lockdown.
And they're like, he jumped. And so then they start posting videos of a man who had committed suicide.
In the video, residents tried to revive the man after his fall.
I don't know what his situation was, but a lot of people were in a desperate situation, because we couldn't go out, people couldn't do business, and I guess people were losing businesses.
The man died eventually. At this point, the apartment building was in its second month under lockdown. That's also when Murphy says she started getting claustrophobic.
Because at one point they said we're cutting off the elevators when we're not doing testing, because they were doing everything to keep people from leaving their apartments.
The building she was living in is a 19-story high-rise. Murphy's apartment was on the 17th floor.
The stairwells are not ventilated, so can you imagine if something happened, like a fire, and you had to try to get out by climbing down an unventilated stairwell.
And that's exactly what happened inside a building near Murphy's community. A witness at the scene sent video of the blaze to Murphy's apartment group chat.
And because they were also fenced in, the entry doors, the fire department was not able to get onto the property. and save the building. So the entire building burned down, including the vehicles that were housed in the garage beneath. So I can't say that anybody was injured, but yeah. So it just knowing that you were in you could possibly be in that kind of danger, the thought that you can't get out.
As things got worse,
we were not allowed to go out. Eventually, we couldn't even go out to take our trash out. They would come to our door to test us, either give us the COVID test or the antigen.
On top of isolation, there were also food shortages.
I was eating whatever I could. When I could get veggies, I would try to make like sort of pots of soup, because they lasted for days. I could eat off of it 4 to 5 days.
She says she started eating less.
To try to ration your food to get you through the week.
The situation came to a head when residents gathered to protest on another floor.
What happened was they were angry. They were angry about the lack of food. They were angry, about the lies about the quarantine facilities, and